bringing you another banger. Alex Alonso here with FG. What's going on, man?
Man, what's going on, man? How was your weekend?
The weekend was good. What was it? Which holiday just passed?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. I'm not good with holidays.
Yeah.
I just know it's a day off.
Hey, that's all I know, man. And that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I just hung out with the family, man. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I had a chance to see my daughter because, you know, she's off at school.
Mm-hmm.
And every opportunity I can get to tell her to come home.
Hey, man.
I gotta do it. But I can feel the kids are getting older and they wanting to do their own thing, man. They want to live their life.
Yeah, definitely. I got one on her way to college, man. I'm messing her already. She ain't even left yet, you know, so you know.
So she's going this fall?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She going out of state or staying
No,
local?
she gonna stay in California, yeah.
Yeah, man, I like keeping my kids close. I'm completely against my kids going out of state. Most kids want to leave.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Look, my daughter is so close. She goes to USC.
Mm-hmm.
My wife works at USC.
Okay, so yeah.
We always got an eye on her.
No doubt.
But she don't really mind, so that's cool. But yeah, we had Memorial Day weekend, and you know, my father's a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps, and I guess it's to celebrate all the soldiers, right?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's Veterans Day.
That's Veterans
I'm
Day.
tripping. Memorial Day is for what, man? Because I don't know nothing about these holidays.
Memorial Day, I believe, is for the people who passed away during military services.
You sure about that?
Nope.
Okay. I don't even know what Christmas is for, to keep it real. I don't celebrate no holiday. I don't celebrate Christmas. The only one I might do is Thanksgiving because you get to see all the family. But yeah, Memorial Day weekend, we're back at it. We're back at work, episode 16, man. And let's get right into it, man. Eric Holder's jury selection is actually in effect.
Oh, okay. They getting it going, huh?
They're getting it going, man.
Yeah.
They're about to pick a jury. It's probably going to take them about 2 or 3 days to pick a jury. And then I would probably guess by Monday, they're going to start
Should be rocking and rolling.
evidence,
Yeah.
witnesses, all of that, man.
Yeah, finally get it going.
People are fine, man. People have been waiting, man. And I want to talk about this again. People think it's a conspiracy that it took so long, and it's only been 3 years.
No. If you know, you know. You know, sometimes you gotta wait it out. Sometimes it take even 4 years for them to get all the evidence, get all the witnesses, get everything they need. And sometimes it's good for the defense as well to get their things together, you know, and it just take time. It's not an overnight process. You talk about murder, capital murder, so.
Not that I'm against conspiracy theories. I believe they do exist.
Oh, they definitely do exist.
There's
you
a
know?
time and place for conspiracy theories, but I just haven't really felt that Nipsey's murder is a huge conspiracy where the police are involved, the government's involved, Dr. Sebi's, you know, legacy's involved. I just see it as some regular street shit, like every other murder that we see.
I mean, it could be some regular street shit, but it could still be some conspiracies behind some regular street shit. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it goes high as up to, like you say, Dr. Sebi and anything like that. But at the same time, man, a conspiracy is a conspiracy. And if you know, more than a few people got together on this, that's a conspiracy. So I'm gonna see what how it pans out. I'm curious to see what the defense and what the prosecutors bring to the table.
Well, they got some witnesses that testified at the grand jury about 3 years ago, so I wonder if they all coming back. And some of these dudes are from 60s, so I was a little surprised that all these guys showed up at the grand jury and said what they said.
No doubt. But if they were summons, I believe they had to go, right?
Had no choice.
Yeah,
they had no choice. But yeah, I don't think the LAPD's involved. I don't think there's some conspiracy that the city of LA wanted to take over that corner.
Yeah, I've heard all that sort of thing. I don't think it was that big.
Nah, and it goes back to the to Biggie's murder. You know, when Biggie got killed in '97, and I started hearing the conspiracy theories, I gotta admit, I started believing some of them. But as time went on, as I met people who knew people involved, as I got, you know, I didn't know Reggie back then. I didn't know a lot of other people, but now I look at it as some old-fashioned street shit.
Yeah, no doubt, but I still think it was a small degree of some undercurrents up in there with some.
Now you're closer to that Biggie killing because the quote-unquote people involved grew up right near where you grew up.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why I say, but then I watched it as well. But I really believe that it was some conspiracies involved in that. I can't put my finger on or not going to accuse anybody, but I believe it was bigger than just a little street shit. I believe it was more to it than that, if you ask me.
Now, would you say is as big as involving like police and law enforcement?
I would.
Wow.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, so I wasn't I don't think they just went out and did that and handled that like that. I think it was multiple layers of cooperation between people that how that happened.
So if you're believing law enforcement's involved, then there was a relationship then between a certain group of Pyrus and the police.
Well, a certain group of people and the police, a certain group of gang members and the police, but nowadays that's not even far-fetched anymore.
Okay.
That could easily happen.
Yeah. Well, I remember Biggie's mom tried to sue the LAPD over some conspiracy, and then eventually the case got thrown out, so nothing ever happened of it. She didn't get no money, I don't think.
Well, I believe they dropped that they dropped that lawsuit based on she was gonna get some money from somewhere else, so she went on and dropped it. That was from what my understanding was. I don't have any inside intel, but I don't see them just dropping that, just to drop it.
Yeah, I think she was gonna get some money from somewhere else, but yeah, Eric Holder, jury selection is already going on. I would actually be there right now checking it out if we wasn't doing Streets and Scholars.
No, I bet know you would. I know you would.
So I'm gonna pop in there. Probably pop in there on Friday and see
how. You gonna at least go check it out for a second.
Yeah, just to see what's going on there. They're only allowing one media person to witness the jury selection. Mm-hmm. But once the evidence starts, I was going to say once the trial starts. Technically, I don't know if a lot of people know this, jury selection is the beginning of trial. Mm-hmm. It's not separate from trial. So once the evidence gets presented after opening statements, they allow everybody to come in.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason, they're only allowing a limited number of people during the jury selection. So, all right. And on Nipsey Hussle's alleged killer, we'll find out if he's going to be found guilty or not guilty. I'm gonna say within probably less than 2 weeks.
Think it'll be that fast?
I mean, there's really not too many witnesses. There's only a handful of witnesses, and you can go through all them witnesses in like a week.
Yeah.
And I don't know I think the defense strategy is just to cross-examine the prosecution's witness.
Man, I'm just thinking from one way or the other, man, we gonna get some sort of, not gonna say a bombshell, but I think we gonna get some sort of something that's gonna be like a wow moment in that case.
I think it's just gonna be anticlimactic. I think it's just gonna be some boring ass testimony.
Cut and dry. Yeah.
I've sat through too many of these, but you never know. Maybe there will be a bombshell, and we'll see. Master P's daughter passed, 29 years old.
Man, that's sad, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's crazy because I was reading the article. They haven't really disclosed how she passed, but if you ever watched she was on a couple of reality shows, and they were open about her drug use.
Right.
So it could be.
They even did a lightweight intervention on her.
Yeah, they did.
To try to get her to corral her in, and it's sad that sometimes, man, when you get on these drugs, it's just so hard to get off, and I know it's hurtful to the family and hurtful to, everybody that was close to her, man. That she was only 29 years old.
And her brother Romeo, I'm sure he's grieving, man. He used to go to USC he was on the basketball team, man. He's a good guy. But when I was reading the article, it said that mental illness and substance abuse may have played a role. And I'm thinking that if it's not overdose, it's possibly a suicide.
I won't speculate, but I know that sometimes yeah, those are, if it's
because why say that she was dealing with mental illness? If she was dealing with mental illness, usually when people, mental illness can lead you to excessive drug use. So I don't know,
or excessive drug use can lead you to mental illness.
Hey,
this is what I'm starting to believe after seeing some research. So, but either or, like you said, at the end of the day, to be that young, would have to be, like you say, some sort of overdose.
Yeah. One of my concerns, as a father, is drugs of my kids. Like, if my kids are dabbling, if they are dabbling, how serious will they dabble? How far will they take it? Because once they get to a certain age, you can't really have any control.
No doubt, and I just have the cut and dry conversation with my kids. I don't play with them when it comes to, the substance abuse or substances, period. I don't play with them at all. I go straight, hammer it straight to them. Listen, we have now, back in the 80s when crack came along, we didn't have the intel to know what the effects of crack was going to be. We have all the intel of what all these drugs are going to be. You can Google it. You can see that what meth does to you. You can see what these oxycodone is doing to you. Especially these people are getting fake ones now, so they dying off the fentanyl. I have these conversations with my kids because even with my younger kids, I tell them straight up, if you never try it, you'll never miss it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Therefore, I'll never have a nicotine need or want or desire. So that's the whole thing about it. And a couple of my older kids, they do smoke marijuana. You know what I mean? But I tell them, listen, if you ever need something stronger than marijuana, then that's where the problem is going to come in. How high do you need to be? Because this weed nowadays strongest. Well, they got all kind of crazy weed out here now. And I used to smoke about 15 years ago marijuana, and the weed got too strong for me, so I put it down. So, but at the same time, and weed can too. Any drug can lead to excessive use, can lead to other problems and drinking and, making you want, it could be a gateway drug to something else. And all, like you say, we can do, man, is just really talk to them and try to hammer it in how serious it is out there.
So how do you feel about your sons that smoke marijuana? Because I have two sons, and I'm completely against them even trying, because I know once you dabble, especially marijuana, and you enjoy that high, you're going to revisit that high. And it's going to be years before you decide to say, I'm done with the high. Like for you, you probably did it for many years before you quit.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I'm completely against my sons even trying it and starting. So what is it like knowing that your sons do marijuana?
Well, the ironic part is one of my sons, he just got a CDL. And before he got a CDL, about 3 or 4 months before when he started studying for his tests and stuff like that, I'm like, ain't no use of studying if you're going to smoke. And he stopped, and me, I do drink, you know what I mean? So I'm not just totally, he's never drank and he stopped, and he just, to this day, he laughed. Matter of fact, it's been longer than that, because I think he just said it was a year that he couldn't believe that he wouldn't smoke weed. He smoked it every day. And I'm proud of him for that, mind clearer, of course, when you under DOT regulations driving these, he just applied for his hazmat, so, we get randomly drug tests all the time. But for my other son, my thing is this is the effect of going to prison. Because they seen me smoke it, you know what I mean? I left, they were 12 years old. Guess what? While I'm gone, who's to stop them from dabbling? Oh, my dad smoked it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, these kids really watch what we do as parents. So I have to take part of the blame in that. You know what I mean? So now me going to just say, man, yeah, I could say you need to stop. But at the same time, they're going to make it 29 years old. You're going to make a decision on your own, but at the end of the day, I have to take some blame for that. Had I been home, I may have been able to see it early or coach them early or keep preaching what I'm preaching to my younger kids who don't use it and maybe had the same effect.
Hey, if nobody ever told on you in 2004, you might not have never ever caught another case.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
Because it looked like you already went to prison. You already, knew what that was like, and you was already partially businessman and a little bit in the streets.
Right. Yeah. I can't see. True, but like you say, and yeah, exactly. If you don't, like I say, you guys got to be aware of who you hanging around and who your friends are.
I just say that because the impact and the effects of somebody telling on another person, it's never ending.
It's never ending.
It's never ending.
Snowball effect.
Yeah, it's all kind of things. So. My sons actually had a friend whose older brother died of a fentanyl overdose. So even though I'm constantly talking to them about it, when that happened to them, that was like an
eye opener.
Yeah, and it kind of helped me a little bit. Yeah. Like whenever we have that conversation, I say, hey, remember your friend's brother? He was only 18 years old, and he got a batch of some bad fentanyl, and that was it.
Sadly to say that, that incident, could put them in a situation where they never ever touch it.
I know.
Now, unfortunately, their friend had to lose their life. But sometimes, when they see it that close, they be like, you know what, I'm a believer,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be disappointed if they went through all of that. Mm-hmm. They dealt with his brother, grieving, went to the funeral, listened to me speak about it and remind them, and then end up, in a similar situation. Right. So, yeah, man, my condolences, man, to Master P, man. It must be tough having a kid that's strung out.
Yeah, it gotta be, man. I'm talking about it. It gotta be, man.
And I don't say that disrespectfully, strung out. I know it's
no. I got what you're saying, and same with me. My mom died of cancer, and I had friends whose parents were drug addicts. Like real crack addicts that we would see on the street. And I was sad that I lost my mom, but I also said, man, that would have broke my heart had I saw something like that. So with it being a daughter, a son, any kid, it gotta be heartbreaking,
No doubt, man. So shouts out to Master P and his family, Romeo, the brother, and rest in peace, Tytyana. And to another subject, man, I was actually shocked and surprised about this CO, federal CO.
Oh, yeah, corrections officer.
From the BOP.
Man, right here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. This CO officer admits to raping and sexually assaulting a female inmate. His name is Jose Viera, Viera. And I was just shocked that a CO would be that bold to rape an inmate. And this is a federal system. So, you've dealt with these COs. I'm sure they're not all like this. They're not all this crazy, but he ain't the only one.
No, he's not. And I was in that facility that happened at, MDC Los Angeles. And the thing I don't understand is this. Now, say if he would have, not that I'm condoning this either, but say if she would have wanted it, and he would have got caught. It wouldn't have been an assault. It wouldn't have been a rape. It would have just been, basically you jeopardized your job over, a piece, you know what I mean? And but to go in there and rape a inmate, dude, what the hell is you thinking? That's the dumbest shit. I just don't get that.
Oh man, I don't get it either. He's looking at a mandatory 10 years, which I feel like is not, it doesn't fit this. 10 years he getting 120 months for raping an inmate. You got 120. You got the same sentence.
Oh man, right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and but like I say, it's hard for me to did she play any part in it as far as luring him in and setting him up? Did she, I'm just, it's hard for me to believe that he just went in there and said, I'm taking this. Right, here I am, and just think you gonna get away with it. I don't know. Unless he's done it before and got away with it, I don't know. But maybe he thought she wasn't gonna really say nothing. I just don't know. But maybe he threatened her with some, I'll say that you did. You know what I mean? I don't, but that don't sound right, man. I know he pleaded guilty to it.
Yeah, he did plead guilty.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
And there's actually several complaints against BOP COs. There's 483 sexual complaints in 2020, and they're saying this is related to COVID. The girl was being quarantined in an area for people who either been exposed to COVID or had COVID, and this CO, Jose Viera, was part of, I guess, monitoring them. Mm-hmm. And this is where it happened. It doesn't seem like there's any any consent at all. It said that he laid in the bed with her, pushed her against the wall, and started penetrating her against her will.
And not only that, they found semen on the sheet, so he was locked in. He was locked in, and I just don't understand that how easy it is out here in these streets to, if you have sexual desires, you can get any fantasy fulfilled you have. But I just didn't see him jeopardizing a career over that. That's hard, man.
Well, his max is 10 years. That means he can get less than that.
Yeah, his max is 10 years, yeah.
He might get less than that, but I can't imagine getting any less than that. And yeah, this was in the MDC, which is really this is sort of like, quote unquote, the county jail to the feds. This is where you await trial, right?
No doubt.
So they keep females and males both in MDC?
Yeah, but on separate floors. So you would never be on the floor where the women are, and they wouldn't be on the floor where we are. But I'm sure the COs have access to all those floors.
Now, when you were in MDC, you don't get to even interact with the female.
Not personally like that, but you it was the ways you had to interact with them, because you'll be surprised what talking through a vent can do. They was on the 9th floor, you on the 7th or 8th floor. You can actually just talk through a vent. Hey, and they'll answer, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? You can actually have a conversation through the vents. Crazy.
Hey, that's what Keefe D from Southside was saying in an interview when he was in MDC in 2005, talking through the vents.
Yeah. I was surprised. You stand up on the toilet to holler out somebody's name, and they'll be like, let me go get them. Hold on. That's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a crazy form of communication.
Yeah.
So how many floors away can you holler at somebody?
It's not too many. Like I say, the females, I believe, was on the 9th floor. I could be wrong, but but you can holler up a few, three or four levels if nobody else hollering through them at the moment.
Well, this CO pled guilty, and he admitted to fondling her and penetrating her against her will. So, I mean, if you're going to admit to that.
Yeah, it's hard, bro. But I believe he probably admitted to that with some form of sentencing range agreement. Maybe not on paper, but, a verbal agreement to say, listen, man, you go plead guilty to that. We'll keep it between, 36 and 56 months, something like that, him just pleading guilty straight out. I just, but
well, I was gonna say, if he went to trial, do you think you'd face and lost? Would he face more than 10?
Yeah, no doubt, because the money they gonna spend for trial, man, they hate spending that money, and you make them spend it, you gonna pay for it on the back end.
Well, I hope
definitely
he gets maxed out, man, because he's the scum of the earth to me.
No doubt, but like I say, I just don't. Sometimes I know, man. Sometimes females got current things too. Maybe she was trying to look into lessen her position, so get her some time off, knocked off some kind of way, and so at the end of the day, only them two really know what actually happened.
Yeah, I guess there are some instances where the female inmates kind of don't mind the sexual attention from the COs.
Oh, no doubt. We did another study on that, another prison where the females was mad at the one girl who told, because they were on some, you messing it up for us now. You know what I mean? And that's crazy how that works, man. But hey, females in prison, they had their needs too, right? You know what I mean? So, hey, it's hard to be mad at them, but as a man doing your job, you still have to respect the guidelines and the boundaries of that you're a CO and these are inmates.
But a male inmate and a female inmate can never hook up. Right?
Well, this is the thing about it. In the prison camps where the females are, males work those camps. You know what I mean? So they got action all day long. And if you, at those camps, it's one CO and 200, 300 people, so anything can happen. You know what I mean? Those camps are wide open, so different things goes on at the camps. I heard a lot of stories about the camps, but at the end of the day, you talking about MDC, you talking about a closed facility, you talking about monitoredly watched, you talking about, I just don't know what he was thinking, man.
Well, I hope he gets maxed out. Jose, Viera, looking at 10 years, and hopefully he'll get the whole 10 years, man. But, man, let's talk about, I wanted to talk to you about this Uvalde shooting, but then I just realized, how can we talk about the Uvalde shooting and skip over the Buffalo shooting? Because the Buffalo shooting was actually targeted towards black folks.
You absolutely right, man. And they and he went in there. Did you see where he saw the one white guy and said, "Oh, I'm my bad," and it's, to me, it seemed like they brushed that under the rug like it was nothing, instead of calling it what it really was. You know what I mean? It's a massacre of black people.
No doubt. And what's crazy is that while I was just sitting here preparing for episode 16, it seemed to me that the media just skipped over the Buffalo shooting.
That's what I said. They just swept it under the rug.
And now it's all about Uvalde. Isn't that crazy?
No doubt. And
I feel, and look, I'm to blame too, because I'm writing up these notes about Uvalde because it's just everywhere. And I'm like, hold up. 10 black folks was just massacred in Buffalo. And why are we not talking about that?
You're absolutely right, man. You know, you got a point, and it goes to show, you know, we still in America, you know, unfortunately. And the media and every person that's into having anything to do with blackness should have been. I didn't hear the media screaming out. I didn't hear what you say, the not just the rap artists but the actors, and everybody seemed like they should have came to the forefront on this. Every activist, every, you know, and they didn't. This was racially motivated, no doubt about it.
100%.
You know, and that's not an issue to America. You know.
No, it is. I thought it was crazy when the conservative news wanted to say, wait up, we don't really know what happened in Buffalo. We don't know what motivated him. Like they wanted to deny that race had any role in it whatsoever. But it only took less than a day to figure that. I mean, if you were in Buffalo, you already knew.
Right.
You know, but you know, we live way over here on the other side of the country. After the first day, I realized, this was racially motivated 100% from the very beginning, and was really disturbing. Somebody actually sent me the dude's video. You know, he live streamed it on Twitch. On that Twitch is a video platform, and somebody sent me the video in like one of my DMs on Instagram. So I clicked it, and I'm like, oh man, I ended up watching it, which I shouldn't have. But this dude was like playing a video game with human beings.
Right.
That's what it looked like to me.
With black human beings.
No doubt. We're killing black folks. And I don't recommend anybody watching this stupid video that somebody sent me. But I'm kind of disappointed that the conversation about Buffalo has kind of taken a back seat to Uvalde, you know?
Well, you know, Uvalde, don't get me wrong, man, was something.
I guess little kids is little kids being killed more. I guess more sad than black folks being killed in Buffalo.
No, not at all. You know, not to me at least. But at the same time, you know, I think people expect them to, you know, brush Buffalo up under the rug. You know, had Uvalde even not happened, you still wouldn't be hearing about Buffalo. Buffalo still would be, you know, a foregone conclusion with a lot of people, especially the conservative media.
Probably so.
You know, so but here, you know, I'm not taking anything though from, you know, those little kids' lives getting took, man. You know, those was babies, man. Yeah, at the end of the day, you know. But I can speak on the coward of police that waited an hour before they even tried to go in there and, you know, and put it on the line, you know, like they sworn to do, or like we've seen in other situations. This police department right here, you know, dropped the ball.
And it's probably the most coward police department in America,
no doubt.
And the chief of that police department, Arendando, has got to be the most cowardice chief in America.
I agree.
For calling that, and the border patrols that the agents that did go in there, they went in there against their orders.
Yeah.
They was like, are y'all crazy?
Mm-hmm.
We got a gunman in there? I was thinking if that happened in Los Angeles, LAPD would have loved to rush up in there. You know, they would have lined themselves up back to back, hit the left, hit the right, watch our crossfire, and go in there and do their thing.
No doubt. But it goes to show you the lack of, you know, training in some of these little cities around the United States, you know, and pretty much probably around the world.
But to me, if you're a police officer, I don't care how small your town is, I don't care how advanced or not advanced your training is, y'all got a bunch of guns. It's at least 20 or 30 of y'all. It's one guy in there with a rifle, and it's 30 of y'all with Glocks.
Yeah,
go handle your business.
At least 19 at one point. I believe it was 19 officers there, and you know, one officer went to People Magazine, you know, and did an interview over there, and he said, man, you know, nobody had the heart to do it. He said, man, everybody wanted to, and nobody had the heart. They also had the, like you say, the order to stand down at the moment. But like you say, there's no officers, I believe, in L.A. that would have took that order like that. When them kids was in there getting shot, they'd have broke them rules and took it on the chin afterwards. Hey, I take what I'm going to take afterwards, but I'm going in here to save some of these kids.
Yeah, and they gunned the dude down. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody about why did the Buffalo shooter get to be taken into custody alive, and the Uvalde shooter, they killed him. And initially, I thought the Uvalde shooter was returning fire on the police, but we don't really have any proof. I haven't heard any cops that are shot. You haven't?
A couple got.
But have you seen them being interviewed? Like, I took one in the chest or I took one in the leg.
No.
See, I think they just said that
Because they also use the term grazed. So what they do? Shot a hole in their shirt or shot a.
No, I want to see an officer laid up in the hospital bed with a cast over his leg or his arm or his shoulder.
No doubt.
No, I think they went. I think the Border Patrol agents that went in there said, "Hey, we're gonna kill this dude."
Yeah,
regardless.
Well, right. But I mean, before that, when initially first took off, and a few officers that were there, they say that they went to go up in there, and he shot at them. A couple got grazed, and they ran back up out of there. But an hour later, though, before they can come to some tactics, and I guess when the Border Patrol got there, wasn't nothing else left to do but go in here and knock this dude down because he had already just put in so much damage.
And to a certain degree, that's the right thing to do, regardless if his name is Salvador Ramos. Regardless if Salvador Ramos was shooting at the police or not, I feel that a guy like that has to get taken out because the families don't want to see this guy on television every night, going to court, going to trial, back and forth from appeals, because that actually just adds more trauma to the trauma that the guy already created. So I think the officers that went in there said, hey, we got to just end this thing. But they didn't do it in Buffalo.
They didn't do it in Buffalo, and they didn't do it at a few places where it's a white shooter, and that's just the way I see it, And I do believe, if you ever catch hopefully it never is, or maybe it's something that I don't know about, you catch a black shooter in that same situation, man, they're going to knock his head off the first chance he get. He will not be coming out alive, and that's just how it seemed like it really is, and because we getting so many massacre shooters, and they just walking them right on out.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's an answer to this problem that we have going on around the country of mass shootings. Apparently, there's been I don't know how many mass shootings this year.
As soon as these dudes get to the pen, they didn't handle it in the appropriate way and with the police department. When them dudes get to the pen, man, they supposed to be high. They should not be able to walk the yard in peace. They should be able to have to piece up every day of their life in there. And for those kind of crimes.
Well, I don't think they would ever go on a general population yard, these shooters.
Well, even not in GM Pop, but somewhere, it's dudes in there on every level that can, reach out and touch these dudes. 'Cause I know one of them, who was that, it was one of those guys he got killed up in there. Was it, who was one of those mass murderers? And when he got to the pen, they laid him down.
I don't know which one.
Yeah, I couldn't think of his name, man, but it was one of them. As soon as he got there, they knocked him off.
Well, a lot of them, I know they're not going to be in a general population, but sometimes they commit suicide too during the shooting, which I could respect that. If this is what you want to do, all right, kill yourself after. End it for all the victims' families that you messed up. But then there's guys like the dude in Buffalo. He decided to surrender.
Right, he decided to surrender, and they accepted it. They accepted the surrender, and but at the end
why do you think they accepted his surrender and just didn't gun his ass down?
Hey man, it's a whole lot of reasons that I could speculate, but I don't know the exact reason.
Well, I mean, I guess the obvious one is he's white,
no doubt,
and it is true. Law enforcement seems to be hesitant in killing white folks when they're armed. And I don't think anybody could deny that happens. The white guy always gets taken into custody without incident.
That's without incident, man. But but on this Uvalde thing, man, it just kills me that what kind of person, And then like a convention center where grown people was, man, you went to where some babies was at. You know what I mean? He knocked down some first and second, third graders, I believe, and I can't even wrap my head around somebody wrapping their head around pulling something like this off. It's didn't he killed his grandmother before?
Well, I think she survived.
Oh, she made it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I believe that the last I know she was still living, but he did shoot her in the head, right?
Okay. Yeah, I know he shot her, and but it goes back to, like you say, when we was talking about early mental illness, because no sane person does that.
Well, he was never identified as
He surely wasn't.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he surely wasn't. Never had an arrest, none of that. Bought them 2 ARs right after his 18th birthday.
Hey, how much you think those ARs cost? Because they
pricey.
This kid just turned 18. Where he get the money to buy?
Probably been saving up for he was 10 to do this job.
Man,
you know what I mean? So that's the crazy part about it, man.
Well, I know they're going to investigate all this. How did he get the ARs? Where did he get the money for the ARs? And do you think it should be legal for an 18-year-old to buy an AR?
No, but at the same time, here we go back with the gun rights battle. I believe people that's going to do things of this nature going to get their hands on the gun regardless. That's just what I believe. So if you did change the age, or you changed different requirements, or you changed certain this or that, I believe somebody that want to do something is going to get their hands on what they're looking for regardless.
Regardless if the gun's legal or illegal.
Exactly.
You see, in California, all these guns are illegal.
Right, no doubt.
Even the damn magazine for your semi-automatic hand pistol has to be restricted to 10 rounds.
No doubt.
They brought it down from 16.
They even changed the handles on the AR. California did. You can still have a different handle to where it's not a pistol grip anymore. Your hand, it's like barely can hold on to the stock, just based on they changed the whole hand model. I don't know what that was for, but yeah, it's not even like the pistol, like where you can hold the grip it the same way. So, but what is the stopping? If somebody get their hands on them, they got their hands on them,
Now, do you think all these laws, California has probably the most strict,
some of the toughest laws
in the whole country. It's hard to really say yes or no if it saved lives. Like, is reducing my magazine from 16 to 10, does that save lives for someone that wants to use their weapon for ill intent? Like, how do we even know?
You don't, but I know a situation back when I wasn't, back when they had the AK-47s, I was a Mag 90 guy, and I used to love that Mag 90. And one time, it was only came with a 5-round clip, So I went to the gun store and was like, man, I'm trying to get a extended clip, a bigger clip for this gun. And, the guy said, young man, he said, Mag 90 bullet knock down an elephant. You know what I mean? He say, so for a person that need more than 5 rounds, he says, all depend on what you're shooting at that you need, you know what I mean? And it didn't dawn on me, that kind of capacity around was that powerful, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, damn, they got a point. Why do you need more if these bullets are so powerful?
I could think of a reason why you might need more. What if we are in an apocalypse? Mm-hmm. Electricity goes out, the whole grid is down, mm-hmm. and people in the streets start to acting crazy and going house to house to try to rob and see what
no doubt.
They're not gonna come to your house with that Mac 90.
No, you right, but then you right. With them 5 bullets ain't gonna get me nowhere. I'm gonna get 5, and that's it. Yeah. So you do got a point there, but these are high powered weapons. It's just to have a 100-round clip, have a 30-round clip, have a 50-round clip, outside of an apocalypse or something like that. I mean, damn, what are you really looking for to damage something or not? Just you want to be sure that you have enough, but when you have these kind of high capacity magazines, shootings like at these schools. This is what's happening. They're able to get off a whole lot of shots in a limited amount of time.
Well, I don't think Texas is going to do anything about the gun laws there.
I don't either.
And, and I'm not even sure if changing the laws would stop a guy like Salvador Ramos.
I don't either.
Because you can get a gun like that on the black market.
No doubt.
If you really, really want one. Now, I do think that it was easy for him, right? If you for guys like that, you got to make it hard. You got to make it difficult. If he wants to get a gun like that, make it difficult.
Make him have to put the work in to get one.
Don't make it as easy as he just turned 18 and he's got the money and he could walk out of the gun store with anything he wants.
No, you got a point there.
That's a little crazy. And then also, I wonder, does he have all the IDs? Because look, in California, you go in there to buy a gun, you got to give them your ID. Mm-hmm. They make copies of it. You got to pay for your gun in advance, or at least put a deposit. Mm-hmm. Then they make you wait 10 days. Mm-hmm. So in those 10 days, who knows what they're doing? They're sending your name to Washington, D.C.
Right. Background
they're sending your name to Sacramento. And then when you come back, you pay the balance 10 days later and you get your gun. It just seemed like this dude walked in the store and said, let me get that, let me get that, and let me get this. And that was it.
Right. Let me get a water jug to go with in case I get thirsty and walk right on out with him.
Now, I do believe that background checks are important, but if Salvador Ramos really wanted to get what he wanted to get, there's always another way to get it.
It is, but I believe that some of those other ways are not as easy as people think for everybody. In certain cities, some of the bigger cities, I can't even say the bigger cities, but, some of these weapons are just not easy to get off the street if you're not in touch with people who know how to get this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of friends he had or didn't have, but it really could have deterred him, based on if they were harder to get. I mean, but who's to say that he just wouldn't have stocked up on 3 or 4 9s or 40 Glocks and went and did the same mission, with extra clips. And so, it depending on how bad he wanted to get this done, it was not having the AR wasn't going to stop him.
Yeah. So I don't really know what the solution to this is, but every time somebody gets killed like this, going all the way back to Sandy Hook was the same thing. I think it was first graders, second graders. And I thought something was going to happen there. I thought, okay, Sandy Hook, they really going to do something about guns in the United States. And then nothing really happened.
I don't believe they're going to do nothing now. They're going to say we're going to talk about it. They're going to bring it up in Congress. Somebody going to file write a bill to change something, and it's not going to pass. It's going to be a bunch of noise about the bill floating through the Senate or Congress, but it's not going to pass, Now
let's talk about this guy Salvador Ramos. He went through a whole bunch of different things recently in his life, and I wonder, are these red flags? Because I'll mention these things in a minute, but it seems like these are things that a lot of us go through as teenagers. But right. He was expelled from school. Have you ever been expelled before?
No.
You never been expelled?
No.
Oh, okay. I've been expelled.
Yeah, I've never been expelled.
You've never been expelled? Yeah. Okay. I've been expelled from, let's see, every time I got expelled, it was never my fault. Mm-hmm. And the last time I got expelled, I was at a school for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And actually, I went through a depression. I was at a school for 2 years, all of my 11th grade, all of my 12th grade, going to the end of my 12th grade. I get expelled for talking back to the football coach. For saying something. He was the track coach too.
Then let me ask you something. Expelled is when you get totally kicked out of that school?
Totally kicked out the school.
I've never done that, yeah.
And I had an argument with the track/football coach about I didn't like his get down. Mm-hmm. I just thought he was wrong about how he did things. And I may have cursed at him or something. Mm-hmm. And he ratted me out to the dean. And the dean said, "This is the last complaint, and I'm going to have to send you out of the school."
Is that right?
And I was like, wow. Please, I'm about to graduate. Yeah. Where are you going to send me? I don't want to go anywhere. So it did mess me up. Mm-hmm. It messed me up mentally. When I got to that last school I was at, that they sent me to, I didn't know anybody there.
Right.
And I went crazy there. I went off. I was deliberately trying to get kicked out of that school.
Yeah.
But he got kicked out of school. For whatever reason, they don't really explain why. But I do think when you get expelled from a school, especially a school that you're connected to, that you have all your friends and you're a teenager, it could have a huge impact on you. So I don't know if that's going to lead someone to want to kill.
Right.
But if you're already mentally imbalanced, you just need a little push to go over the edge. Now, let me just add another thing out. He decided to drop out of school. I guess he didn't want to go to the next school that they were going to send him to. Mm-hmm. He dropped out. Also, he was a bad student. He did not perform well in class.
Perform too hot.
And then there's reports and photos that support that he liked to kill little animals.
Yeah, did you see that he had the bag of dead cats?
I didn't even look at it. I just read about it.
Man,
you saw the picture of it?
No, I didn't want to either. You know what I mean? And I didn't click here, but I read about it, man. So I was like, wow, that's a red flag for sure.
Yeah.
I take that over being more of a red flag than any expulsions, any bad students, any of that. Them dead cats in the bag, who does that?
Well, you know what? When I lived in the country area for a little while when I was a little kid, in a all white town, like Italians, in upstate New York. And these white kids used to do some crazy stuff on our way home from school.
Yeah.
We used to walk through like some area and they would kill turtles and find snakes and cut them. And I was like, oh, this is what we do here.
Well, I mean, that could be, that's normal country kid stuff, though. I could say that, you know what I mean? Killing certain little animals and stuff like that, but a bag of dead cats, holding them out the car window,
that's maybe another level.
It's just a little sign that or that right there would, if I saw anybody do that, you know what I mean, I would start wondering about this cat, you know what I mean, I would double look at him. So once I read that, I said, okay, maybe he probably had some issues.
But then he was never diagnosed with any sort of mental illness, and he had never even been arrested for a crime as a juvenile.
But just because he wasn't diagnosed didn't mean he didn't have none.
That's correct.
So
do you think all these things that was going on in his head have any role in him deciding I'm about to go knock down a bunch of second graders?
You know what, man? That's what puzzles me. Where in your mind do that even, okay, these people at the DMV made me mad. I'm going back. These people at the, I can get that. But some second graders, bro, I just can't fathom the thought of, in his mind, he had to really have some mental issues, man, to do that.
Yeah.
Even while he's shooting and gunning and seeing that these is babies running around hollering and screaming for their life, man, you got to be a cold dude to do that one.
No doubt about it. I would say that he was definitely mentally ill, but because he's never been diagnosed, there's nothing to prevent him from walking into a gun store and buying a gun.
No doubt.
So now there has to be like this whole new system, because when the average citizen buys a gun, they're checking for criminal history. They're checking for convictions, arrests, all of that. But there's no way to check out mental illness.
No doubt.
Whether you did something crazy as a teenager, as a kid. So I don't even know if there's even a system that would work to check people before they buy weapons. It just seems illogical.
It is, but at the same time, America has put no foot forward in even trying to. They talk about it every year. Every time a shooting or a school shooting, a mass shooting takes place, we're going to look in the gun laws. We're going to look in the gun laws. You're not. You're going to take the losses that comes with them. And I would rather you just say that,
Well, I think there's some shootings that you're just not going to stop.
Right.
You're not. But, with social media and the internet, I do believe that the Buffalo shooter could have been stopped because he went on the internet and talked his shit. And he said things about shootings and killings. So these red flags were there in terms of him actually desiring to shoot. But then even if someone expresses something like that, is that a crime?
It's not. It's a freedom of speech, First Amendment. So at the end of the day, it still should be some kind of way. And then even if you were to use things to, when you Google, now you're invading somebody's privacy. Even if you checking in on them to see if this what they thinking or they Googling or they typing up, now you're invading a person's privacy. So at the end of the day, I'm like you. I believe that these shootings just won't stop. They were talking about putting, a police officer full time at a high school, at schools. Well, you just had 19 at this one school and they didn't do nothing, until more arrived, And so is that even an answer? If he ain't brave enough to, get out there and put his life on the line and things of that nature, what is that going to do too?
Well, I think the other solution is and a lot of people believe this, is more guns. So let's say if the teachers in that school had guns, if the residents in the area had guns, when you have more guns, you have a less likelihood of someone wanting to do something at a particular spot, because basically this was like a soft target for the shooter. If he anticipated like, oh man, there's like 20 teachers in there that are all armed, there's a good chance that what I want to do is not going to work. But I don't know how likely that is. Teachers get armed and more residents get armed. There's a lot of people that just don't want to deal with guns.
True, but like you said, I did have a small conversation with a guy not too long ago about, he's saying that he was saying that it's a little less crime in Arizona based on because they have open carry, and by them having open carry, people were less likely to rob stores and stuff like that because it's other people that's in the store with guns out open on their hip, so you're going to definitely be in a gunfight if you just try to rob this convenience store at this moment, so he had a point, but I just hadn't done no research to even see what the crime rates are in Arizona and stuff like that, or the open carry states, but maybe they have to do some research on it and see if that's a fact.
Man, California used to be open carry, and that's another thing they changed. They got rid of 16 magazine clips in 2016. They got rid of the assault rifles years before that. They got rid of open carry, I think, 2013. I used to open carry. I used to be sitting at Starbucks with my strap on my hip. And then one day the police rolled on me at Starbucks and said, don't let me see you with that gun anymore because the law's changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they used to call the police on me. They'd be like, there's a guy in front of Starbucks with a gun.
Yeah.
And the police used to pull up on me. And I'm like, hey, it's my right to open carry. But most people in California never exercised it.
Oh, okay. Sure. I didn't even know that was a right.
Yeah. I used to be at the Starbucks on Crenshaw.
Okay.
On the patio with my strap right there. And every once in a while, the police would come check it. They want to make sure because they don't want it loaded.
Right.
But you could have your bullets in another pocket.
Oh, okay.
So I used to have a magazine in the pocket and the gun on my hip in case but that's not even the best way to do it either, because if you need to use it right now,
I need to be ready to
I got to load it. Boom. Now I'm ready. And then boom. But hey, I was willing to do it. The law allowed me to do it.
The law allowed you to do it.
But they got rid of open carry.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because the laws that are designed, or at least in the politicians' mind, that are designed to bring safety to the communities are actually making it harder for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. I don't feel protected now that when I go to Starbucks, I got to leave my gun in a lockbox in the car. I don't get to keep it on my hip.
Right.
Now, how difficult is it going to be for me to defend myself? No, I got to run to the car. I got to unlock the box, pull it out, load it, and by that time I'm dead.
Yeah, too much time.
So I don't think laws are the answer.
I don't either. But what is? That's the thing about it. Or is there not an answer?
I don't think there's an answer because this country was built on a level of freedom, and it was built on that Second Amendment, to the right to bear arms. So with that freedom comes losses, and we're just going to have to eat these losses. As sad as that sounds and as insensitive that might sound to some people listening to me right now, I mean, that's the cost of freedom, that we got to eat some of these losses, because you can't stop Salvador Ramos.
Right.
You can't really stop that dude Gendron in Buffalo. I mean, to a certain degree, I think Gendron could have been stopped because he was on social media. He had a manifesto and he had all this other stuff. But a lot of these shooters, you're not going to be able to stop.
Right.
They don't have criminal records, so they can buy guns. So what are you going to do now? Stop non-criminals from buying guns? You can't do that. So, I mean, these people could debate in Washington, D.C. all day long. Ain't nothing going to happen.
That's what I believe. Nothing's going to happen.
And then we're going to have another shooting like this probably before the end of the year. And it's going to be another tragedy.
Well, man, hopefully not. But at the same time, it's they're coming. They're coming.
When you say they're coming, what you talking about?
These shooting, these these incidents, mass shooting incidents. It's as sad as, like you say, sad it is to say we can't believe that this the last one.
Well, rest in peace to all those kids that died in Uvalde. I think it was 21 was it 21 students?
I thought it was 19.
19 students, 2 teachers.
Adults, yeah.
19 students, 2 teachers. Crazy. 21 there. And then, of course, the 10 brothers and sisters in Buffalo, New York, which was that was completely targeted at that supermarket in the black neighborhood. I'm kind of disappointed because we got to see that shooter Gendron, on the news or on our feeds, on our tablets every time he goes to court.
Yeah.
But they should have gunned his ass down. And unfortunately, I think when it comes to black situations, they not as aggressive with black situations as they are with the white folks, and that's just a reality, man. Final thoughts, FG.
Man, final thoughts, man, is like I say, I hope they try to come to some conclusion on protecting the schools a little more in these shootings. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can go anywhere and do a mass shooting, but when it comes to these schools, I mean, you can't basically put people in prison because that's what some of these schools look like nowadays. But at the same time, I'm hoping they could come with some level of security that can make it at least harder for these, to get even through the front door, And I don't know what they can do or will do, but hopefully for the schools, they can figure something out.
Man, that's going to be difficult because we got there's thousands of elementary schools in America. Where do you start?
No doubt. Yeah, where do you start? Yeah.
Thousands of elementary schools. And, there's just hundreds of them right here. I guess, one security, there should be at least one cop from the school district at every school.
At all time.
At all time. Yeah, maybe that's... And I know some schools don't even have, some of these elementary schools don't have no security because it's not needed.
It's not needed. Yeah. So, and it's going to be just another pay grade for a guy sitting there asleep on the job because stuff don't happen. But then again, something can happen. He can respond just like the Uvalde cops did and do nothing. So is that even a solution as well?
Not at all. And I just want to emphasize, man, those cops that did not go in and waited an hour, those are the most coward law enforcement officers in American history, that at least in my lifetime. And I hope all those cops, actually the Fed said that they're going to be doing an investigation of that department, but it just sounded like they want to provide better training and better resources to the department.
Man,
they're not charging
them busters, man, because that's what they let them kids down.
They did. It's like when you're on a ship, when you're the captain of the ship and the ship is sinking, you're supposed to be the last one off. And if you come off that ship before all the passengers are off, you get charged.
Well, one problem is it was some parents wanted to go in though. Parents, hold on, man. I'll go up in there.
Yeah.
And but like I said, that was a cowardice act amongst that whole town right there.
Definitely, man. And we'll wrap it up right there, man. Another fire episode, 16 Streets and Scholars with your boy FG and Alex Alonso. Go holler at FG at FGeneral1. That's on Instagram, of course. And check out his YouTube channel, FG Unleashed, where he's always got some great videos and he's starting to do interviews. And check me out on Street TV on the YouTube platform and Alex Alonso 101. And thanks for following on all podcast platforms. Our Spotify listeners are our largest audience right now. And again, Seattle tapping in big numbers. So another fire episode of Streets and Scholars.